Welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Fitzpatrick and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's event, AWS Discovery Day, Introduction to GenAI for Business and Technical Decision Makers. Presenting today's topic is Harsh Sharma. Harsh is a dynamic corporate trainer with AAI champion with expertise in AWS, Python, and DevOps. Over the past 5 years, he's delivered immersive real-world training to professionals at Fortune 500 companies and leading universities, empowering them with modern cloud, AI, and automation skills on AWS. And he weaves together AWS services such as Lambda, SageMaker, EKS, CloudFormation, Terraform, Code Pipeline, and Code Build with advanced Python scripting and automation practices. Please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored to your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you'll get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. Netcom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We do have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the Data and AI practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio of courses for the topic being covered today. Our upcoming classes include various trainings on the given courses. You can also access a variety of marketing assets, such as the free training and blogs, by clicking on the available event handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. In this session, we'll explore how generative AI is reshaping industries and how organizations can strategically adapt to drive innovation, efficiency, and competitive advantages. Whether you're a business leader or technical expert, you'll gain foundational insights into GenAI capabilities, use cases, and responsible implementation. So let's dive into how AWS enables your GenAI journey with scalable tools and expert guidance. Now I would like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to view in full screen by clicking on the full screen button on the right side of the GoToWebinar viewer. Simply hit the escape key to exit the full screen. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Feel free to submit any questions you have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. And to get the best out of today's events, we've included the slides, courses we talk about, and marketing assets in the handouts section of your GoToWebinar viewer. You may refer to them at any time to get a better understanding of today's topic. And we do realize that some of you may have to leave early and want to let you know that as you do leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to take a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience and improve our future sessions for you. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. And now I'd like to pass this over to our trainer to present today's topic. Hey Harsh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tracy, for a kind introduction. And I welcome everybody who's attending this webinar with me on the topic of generative AI essentials. This webinar primarily is dedicated for business and technical decision maker audience. My name is Harsh Sharma, and I'm an Amazon authorized instructor working with Netcom Learning. I am primarily delivering trainings in the domain of AI, cloud computing, data science, machine learning for around a decade now. I hold multiple certifications from AWS and a couple of more certifications in the domain of AI. Today, my objective will be to bring in as much of insights I can bring in around generative AI and help you understand generative AI from a holistic standpoint. To begin with, I'll start with the topic of what is machine learning. We today refer to generative AI as a technology which can perform different tasks like writing a poem and suggesting you a trip itinerary, all the way to performing college assignments for college students, as well as many more things. But on what topic it is actually built on, let's understand that. So it's built on the top of AI, a specific section of AI called as machine learning, where the idea is that how can we look at a lot of different data points, understand patterns from that. Let me write it here. The idea is to have a lot of data, understand patterns from that data, and then take decisions. If you notice, generative AI tools like GPT, Gemini, AWS Bedrock, etc., are also working in the same line. They are trained models. You must have heard of LLM model training, which is a costly and time consuming process. You probably have heard of there was Anthropic Claude, and now we have Anthropic Claude V2. Probably there'll be V3, V4, and so on. So they are trained model, trained on really large size of data. They have understood patterns in the data. So one example pattern could be how the grammar of English works. What is tense, what is subject, what is object, etc. And they're able to take fairly good decisions. Like if I say I want to visit New York for 3 days, tell me a good trip itinerary. Now it has so much of information around New York, around tourists which are visiting New York, so many websites which promote New York tourism. And from all of that information, it can generate an itinerary for me. This is a common pattern across entire machine learning. Couple of more things around machine learning before we get into the core of generative AI. So we have something called a supervised learning, where you take up the data set which is labeled. What do I mean by labeled is you look at this image and you have the answer that this is orange. You look at another image which is also orange. A couple of images here are representing apple. This is also orange. So you have the image, you have the answer. You're training a model to understand this pattern. And once your training is done, model will be able to identify that this image does not belong to orange, but rather belongs to apple. This image does not belong to apple, rather belongs to orange, and it can do it for new images. What I refer as new images here is that if you notice this particular picture is not there in your data set. There are multiple other pictures of orange and apples, but these pictures are new for machine, but machine can still figure out this is an orange based on past training. That's a broader idea on what supervised learning is. On contrary, we have something called as unsupervised learning, where we do not have a data and label of that. For example, here we had the image and the label of the image. We don't have this in unsupervised learning. It's an unlabeled data. There's no labeled output data. What you want machine to perform is analysis of pattern from data which does not have any labels. So for example, imagine this is data of, let's say, any 2D data like X and Y. and color represents another axis like Z. So for example, this is a city's landscape, and in this city, few people use SIM cards of company A, few people use SIM cards of company B, few people use it of company C. A is represented by blue, B is represented by green, C is represented by red. Now, can your model group these values together? This process is called as clustering. And there are many more use cases of unsupervised learning, like customer segmentation. When you visit Netflix or even when you visit Amazon, they provide you recommended results that's based on customer segmentation. You can also use it for something like anomaly detection. Let's say there are multiple values. Can you figure out if there is a value which should not be here, which does not belong to this data? It's an anomaly or an outlier. You can do it very well with unsupervised learning. This is not the subject for today. I just have one slide to give you an introduction around what this topic is all about. Comes to another type of learning, which is reinforcement learning. Now, this is very different type of learning altogether. This learning is built around agents and environments. So agent is going to perform an action and environment is going to provide a feedback. This is mostly how humans work. And I give you a very, very simple example which you will be able to relate. I am in today's time learning how to swim. And when I go to the swimming pool, I try to perform an action. Sometimes I fail in doing that action because I'm learning. Sometimes I succeed in doing that action. And that success or failure is a feedback for me. For example, if I try to kick my legs in a certain way, what is the environment? The swimming pool. It gives me a feedback that am I going forward with it or not? If I'm not going forward with it, if I'm sinking with it, if my body is not getting comfortable with it, so this is a negative feedback. On the other hand, if I perform an action with my hand or legs and I get very comfortable in swimming in that particular posture, that's a positive feedback given by the environment. And my brain will automatically try to perform those actions where I'm getting more and more positive feedback. This is used in most of the game AI algorithms. In every game you play, I'm just stimulating swimming as a game, but you think of a game like cricket, chess, football, whatever. Your broader idea is to increase positive feedbacks. For cricket, it can be high scores, or for a bowler, it can be taking more and more wickets or giving lesser and lesser scores to the batsman. And a negative feedback could be a batsman getting out. For a batsman, it's a negative feedback. A fielder missing a catch is a negative feedback for the fielder, etc. So if you have machine playing cricket, it needs to optimize the feedback value, higher for positive, lower for negative. This mechanism of learning is called as reinforcement learning. Don't think that this is a detailed explanation. It's just a very high level overview of what this technology is all about. When we dive deeper into machine learning, we understand that there is enough need of more complex algorithms. Machine learning algorithms are usually non-deep. This is not a common word we use. We use deep learning, but we don't talk about what is non-deep learning. So machine learning algorithms are usually non-deep algorithms. They are not sufficient to capture patterns from complex data set. To solve that problem, we have deep learning algorithms. Now, what is the reference to deep or depth here? The reference is I have a neural network where there are multiple layers. You have probably seen a neural network like this. So this is my input layer. This is my output layer. And to go from input to output, I have to pass through multiple layers. And this is that depth which I am referring to. And they are all very well connected. Right? So all the nodes are connected to all the other nodes. So my input and output are connected not directly but with a depth of neurons called as layers. This is useful for complex data sets like image, video, voice, text, etc. What are various applications of machine learning before we even jump to generative AI? So it can be used in marketing. As I gave an example of Amazon and Netflix, they are suggesting you recommended content. It can be used in finance, like analyzing fraud, transaction, doing anomaly detection, etc. It is and can be used in healthcare. AI in healthcare is a big thing now. We are using AI for cancer detection, for tumor detection, for thyroid diagnosis, for multiple different type of image scanning like X-ray scans, ultrasound scans, etc. Now that's all about machine learning part. A quick recap. We learned that there are different types of machine learning. We learned that traditional machine learning algorithms are not sufficient, so we have deep learning as well. We learned that it has so much of business value on different in different sectors. Now let's talk about what is generative AI. Just like a machine learning algorithm can predict an image is apple or orange, but it cannot write a paragraph about apple. Generative AI, as the name says, generative, the keyword is generate, is able to generate a new content. For example, I have a PPT in front of me. I have some knowledge which I have acquired over past years. Now I am speaking and articulating all that knowledge in this webinar. So is it that I have written down this script and I'm narrating this script? No. Based on all the learnings that I had, I am articulating a speech for this webinar. Now, let's say right now you ask me a question. I will be able to answer that question to you in my own words. My learning will be same. My words will be different. Tomorrow, if you ask me the same question, I may give you same answer, but the choice of words can be different because I'm not repeating something that I have already learned. I am rather generating a new answer right then and there, or a new paragraph right then and there. Similarly, if you are, let's say, a singer, you're an artist, and you are doing a rock show, or you're doing a live concert, you're singing a song. Based on your that time mood, you probably will add new variations in that song. You probably will try to touch uh, different areas of that song in a different way because you're not repeating something which is already there. You're rather creating melodies, music, that environment of concert live then and there. Equivalent of that when we expect from machine is generative AI. When we ask machine to generate content, not just give a one word answer like classification. To understand more about generative AI, I have quickly gathered up how machine learning, by the way, generative AI is also part of machine learning. I will explain it in next slide. How this whole area of machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI is being used in Amazon. To give you an idea of a timeline when which technology was in use. 2001, Amazon launched personalized recommendations. It's been around 25 years, 24 years since then. After a couple of years, Amazon Prime got launched. 2012, they started using robots in their fulfillment centers, warehouses. 2014, they launched a conversational bot called as Alexa. 2014, again, Amazon Prime Now was launched. 2016, they used air deliveries, drone deliveries. 2018, they launched their retail store called as Amazon Go, which again is powered by so much of AI. 2020, they had their autonomous robot taxi. And very recently in 2023, the reason I have shown you this timeline is because I want you to understand that this is just 2 years ago. They have started launching products around generative AI like Code Whisperer and Amazon Bedrock. So what is Code Whisperer? It's a platform. In layman, I can say it's equivalent of ChatGPT, which can help you write and analyze piece of codes. If I want to generate a piece of code, I can get that done with Code Whisperer. If I already have a piece of code and I want to analyze it for security vulnerabilities, I can use Code Whisperer for that. Now let's go more deeper and understand how the concept of machine learning and deep learning and generative AI is related. I have a good diagram in front of you that we have a very broad level technology, which is AI. Under AI, we have machine learning, but along with machine learning, we also have a bunch of things like expert systems, heuristics based AI. What I want to say is that today we don't use that technology except machine learning, but there were a bunch of things in AI. One of that thing which is very popular is machine learning. Machine learning had many algorithms like tree-based algorithm, uh, distance-based algorithm. It's okay if you're hearing these terms for the first time. You don't need to cram them to understand generative AI. And one type of algorithm were neural network-based algorithm, which is referred as deep learning. Now, deep learning was also doing fine. There were multiple types of neural network like CNN, RNN. But then comes a new advancement somewhere around 2018-19. We got algorithms like transformers, which gave birth to this generative AI circle. So there are specific type of algorithms or specific type of neural networks which represents generative AI. So generative AI is very well a part of deep learning. It's very well a part of machine learning and AI as well. But so anything that is generative AI is definitely machine learning as well, but not vice versa. A distance-based algorithm is machine learning algorithm, not a deep learning algorithm, and definitely not a generative AI algorithm. How this technology of generative AI became very popular in the recent past? There are multiple reasons for that. One reason could be that there is good amount of investment in team size by different companies like Microsoft, AWS, Google, private players like Elon Musk, private companies like OpenAI, etc. These investors and companies are having big desires to go huge in the area of AI. AI is prime focus since last decade. And there is big amount of investment in compute. Compute is way cheaper in today's time compared to the earlier time. For example, I'm living in India. For example, in India today, you can get around 1 terabytes of storage at the cost of maybe $100. Right. And what is the size of device required to capture 1 terabyte of storage? It is a SD card. I don't know what is the size, but it's somewhere around 1 centimeter or so in length, maybe 1.5 centimeter, or maybe even less than 1 centimeter. Right. And I don't know even if capacity of more than 1 terabyte is available in SD card size, micro SD card size. And the pricing is way too cheaper. Compute is readily available in the format of cloud, in the format of servers, in the format of clusters of servers, etc. And that gave birth to generative AI as an industry to boom um, from last 4 to 5 years. I have a quick example to show you how code generation is possible. So this is a screenshot from Code Whisperer. You can see it here as well. And you see how Code Whisperer is able to generate a piece of code based on the input given to it. Right. You can get the piece of code, you can choose to edit it if needed. Otherwise, you can continue with the same piece of code. What are various use cases where I can use generative AI? So there are many use cases. You can use GenAI to improve customer experiences by providing better experience on chat or by creating virtual assistants like Alexa, like Siri, like Google Assistant. You can create intelligent contact centers. Um, you don't need a big supply of people to handle customer care calls. Rather, AI and softwares and automatic bots can take up those calls. You can have personalization. Today, if you open platform like YouTube or Amazon Prime or Netflix, more than you search what to watch, the platform itself shows on the homepage that this is what you may like, and you end up watching it. So personalization is a big use case of generative AI. Today, if I want to write a bio about me, a one paragraph description about me, I can get it created by a generative AI tool who has so much information around me, or I can give some information as context, rather than me hiring an author or a creative writer who will write the same thing for me. If I join a new job and I want to post a detailed post on LinkedIn about it, I don't need to hire a social media consultant to do it for me. I can get that done with ChatGPT. As far as employee productivity is concerned, again, there are many use cases like better search, better content creation, text summarization, code generation. I have just shown you in the previous slide. A lot of components of this PPT, which I am showing you, are generated from Amazon Bedrock. So content creation is a big industry, getting bigger with generative AI tools. If you are a creative person, you can leverage GPT and Bedrock and Google Vertex AI for creating art, music, text, images, etc. You can improve business operations like document processing, maintenance of assistants, quality control, visual inspection, all with a generative AI tool. Specifically, if you are in healthcare industry, there are use cases like digital scribe or digital prescription, personalized medicine, medical imaging. If today you go to a scanning center and get an X-ray done, you need to go to a doctor to have a look at that X-ray and understand what's right and what's wrong. But can I not click the picture of that X-ray and my phone or a software in my phone will tell me, hey, this is right and this is wrong? That's happening very well. There are softwares which are really effective in medical image scanning. Then we have use cases of generative AI in life sciences, like drug discovery. We recently have witnessed COVID-19 pandemic around 4 5 years ago, and drug discovery is a very crucial and much important process for any country. We have seen that, we have experienced that firsthand. AI is helping so much in drug discovery in the way of advanced simulation. Before even you create a drug or you articulate a drug, you can get to know that is it going to be effective or not. That predictive abilities are there in AI. There are multiple softwares and algorithms doing this. Similar to drug discovery, we have another use case like protein folding prediction, synthetic biology. Not that I'm an expert in what is protein folding, but I'm thinking that it is in similar lines that you can use AI to predict consequences or results based on the inputs you have. You can use generative AI in financial services very well, like to issue you a credit card or not. My expectation is banks and credit companies today are very well using AI to decide this person should be issued a credit card and this person should not be issued a credit card. AI, specifically generative AI, is also being used so much in personalized investment consultancy or portfolio management. It's also being used in debt collection. And these are not the only industries. You have many use cases in the direction of manufacturing, retail, media and entertainment, and so on. So you think of a use case uh, and you'll find it that generative AI is all across around us. Today, you consume cosmetics, you go to a fitness center, you go to a college, you choose to fly under aviation industry, you have AI and generative AI's use case everywhere. Now let's go a little deeper and understand how generative AI is offered by AWS. It's actually offered at three different layers. If you are looking forward to work on generative AI on AWS, there are three different types of options. Let's try to understand the first option at very bottom. The first option is compute. AWS is a cloud provider. Second. And the thing which it is known for is providing you infrastructure. So you can go to AWS, hire a compute infrastructure, and do whatever you would like to do on that, starting from creating an algorithm, collecting data, launching an algorithm training process, evaluating the effectiveness of algorithm, etc., etc. It's your hardware. You can do whatever you want to do on that hardware. You have to pay a consumption fee for that hardware for number of minutes you will consume it. Or the other layer, the next layer, is build your own models. So there are platforms like SageMaker and SageMaker Jumpstart where you don't get access to the underlying compute. Rather, you get access to a platform where you can create an AI model, a generative AI model. So you can load data in this. You can transform data in this. You can do a predictive modeling use case in this, etc. Or third option, why don't AWS provide a model of its own? And now it's happening. With the launch of Amazon Bedrock in 2023, Amazon is providing model as a service as well. So for example, Amazon has a model called as Titan. So you can either use Titan directly or you can customize Titan and create something like Titan version X for yourself and use it. So this is also an option provided by Amazon, specifically by Amazon Bedrock. How would you use generative AI for real business? So I have a good use case for you. You can use it for content summarization, content generation, code generation, question answers, and many more. In these slides, I will be going to talk about these four components, specifically talking about content summarization. So look at the prompt on left side. By the way, what is a prompt? The input you're going to pass to your model, the question you're going to pass in, the instruction that you're going to pass in is prompt. And based on that, it will produce output and share it with you. So the prompt says, please use this detailed market research report to generate a high level summary and analysis of current landscape to be used in presentation to the executives. The broader idea is you have an industry progress report and you want to summarize it because it is probably in 20, 30, 40 different pages and you want to summarize it to 1 page, 2 page or so on. So you see the output based on the survey or the market research. It is explaining that the walking shoe sector has grown by 12% and so on. So this is a summary of all what is there in the market report, which is attached as a file. Now, once you got this market report in a summarized manner, as a businessman, you may like to launch a product in that area. So if your market report says that walking shoe industry is growing fastly, you can choose to generate content in that direction. So look at the prompt. It says write a product description to be used as a website copy for a shoe that is good for walking around London with following details. So imagine I want to launch a shoe. I need to write big descriptions around that and keep it in my website. But I'm not a good person with content writing. I can use AWS models or even any other company's model for that. And I will get a good paragraph like you can see here in output. Then, not just this, content is not just paragraphs. It can be image as well. It can be a social media post as well. So you can use again the same or a different model to write a social media post around this. Today every business is more or less on social media, directly or indirectly. You can also use these models to generate content in the format of image. That here is the shoe. I want to make this shoe look good with a background of London. So the same image is converted to what you can see in right hand side. There's a landscape of London and the shoe in front of it. We discussed in the past that there is something called as code whisperer, and you can use code generation abilities like if you put the instruction as create a Python script to upload files to S3, you will get what you can see on right hand side, a piece of code with which you will be able to upload files to S3. Not just this, you can also perform question answering with the generative AI model. Like if your customer puts up a prompt, hello, I need some assistance with finding the tracking number, you can give an output that, hi, John, I see you ordered this on this date. This is the reference number, etc. That's a very useful technology. As a decision maker, you should definitely consider implementing generative AI in your business processes. You should focus so much on making your organization AI first organization, which means the decisions of your organization should have a fair amount of AI's contribution. For that, the team needs to be educated about what is AI, what is generative AI. But if it's such a promising technology, it comes up with its own risks. So here I have some of the risks and benefits associated with generative AI. Before I go to risk, I would like to focus on benefits part at bottom. So there are many benefits. We discussed many of them, like you can create personalized customer interactions. You can generate novel content. It's easy to adapt a pre-built model to business use case without customizing it. And there are good amount of productivity gains through these platforms. But what are various risks associated with it? So first type of risk is there can be regulatory requirement. If you're working in a regulated industry like banking, insurance, maybe automobile, or maybe immigration, so there can be sufficient amount of regulatory requirement which can challenge you for implementing AI in a very flexible way. You have to follow so much of regulation and accordingly implement AI. There can be social risks as well because you are bypassing the decision making step and making AI responsible to take decisions. You are potentially increasing your attack surface for any malicious actor to launch a cybersecurity attack against the organization. This can be a big risk. Another social risk could be these AI models are actually trained on data and data can be biased. For example, I usually take a lot of flights as a trainer. I fly very often and deliver offline trainings at different places. And my past experience says that I had only handful of flights where the captain or the co-pilot of the flight was a female. So if I collect data of all the flights I have flown in, I guess so there'll be maybe one or two female pilots in a group of 100, 200, 300 pilots and co-pilots who have flown me from places to other place. Now that is a high bias. If I train a model on this, it'll understand that females are not good fit to be a pilot, which is not true at all. But the model will understand this. And if you create a hiring algorithm, which decides who should be hired and who should not be hired, may reject a female candidate only because the candidate's gender, right? And may accept a male candidate again only because the candidate's gender. This is a good social risk. This is a serious social risk, I would say. This is called as biasness in algorithm or the algorithm being unfair. There are also privacy concerns. To train these models, it takes a whole lot of data, which may also include some data which is confidential to the company or an individual. Revealing that data to a model's cognition, and based on that data, a software is taking decision, may be a big threat to an organization. It may expose confidential intellectual properties of a company to other people. For example, let's assume YouTube's recommendation mechanism is very proprietary and it's not available in public domain. But let's say ChatGPT got exposed to that algorithm, and I ask it how I can create an algorithm like YouTube's recommendation. It can give me a big amount of information which YouTube may not be willing to share directly. So this is a privacy concern. However, this concern was one of the first concern which was addressed, and today's time, every platform is a privacy first platform, security first platform. It does not allow your data to be visible to anybody else. When I say visible, I also mean to say that the model is not going to suggest based on your data to anybody else. Your data will only be available to your sessions and not any other session of anyone. But this is a concern which we need to focus on if you try to create your own algorithm. Larger companies like AWS, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI have already addressed this challenge. But as and how the technology is getting more democratized, more popular, more adaptive, more and more companies are creating their own models, their own LLMs, large language models. And privacy is a big concern that they should and they are focusing on. Now let's elaborate more and learn little about technology behind a generative AI model. So there are a bunch of things which we need to pay attention to. We will talk about these things. Let's take a quick break for 5 minutes and we will come back and we'll cover rest of the topics. The first topic to cover up is technical foundations and terminologies related to generative AI. You can see some technical terms here. We will talk about what they are and how they are working in synchronization to produce magical outputs. Let's come back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Sure, we are now going to take a 5-minute break, but before we do that, we are going to launch a quick poll that we want to invite you to participate in. Doing so helps us know how we can better serve you by telling us who might be interested in more information or in taking some additional training. In addition, we have a lot more informative webinars coming up, so please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register.
So welcome back, everybody. Let's start the second half of this webinar. You can see that there are so many technical terms like foundation model, pre-training, transformers, tokens, word embedding, context. As a layman, these words may sound like jargons to all of you, but the objective is that in this webinar, you will understand at least some information around what these words are all about, what these topics are all about. Let's start with the basic, which is foundation model. So what is foundation model? For us to understand why it's called a foundation model and not just a model, we need to go back a little and understand what used to happen in machine learning. So imagine I am running a cafe, let's say cafe A. There's another cafe like Starbucks. There's another cafe like cafe X, Y, Z. I'll have my own data. Starbucks will have its own data. XYZ will have its own data. I would create my own model to predict what will be the sale tomorrow. Starbucks will create their own model and XYZ will create their own model. If I get access to Cafe XYZ's model, I will only be able to predict their sale, not my sale, because my consumption pattern can be different from theirs. So earlier, till 2020, 2018, sorry, the technology was such like that every organization was creating their own model, part number one. Even if the algorithms were getting shared, like you probably have heard of Google Translate. So it was created by a company called as Google, of course, and multiple companies were using it as API or through its web access. But nobody was able to customize that model. Then comes transformers and the whole idea around generative AI, where the larger companies like Microsoft, AWS, Google, or companies which became large eventually but funded very largely, like OpenAI, which had larger budgets, took a time and collected lot of data, really large amount of data, much larger than any individual company can hold in itself, and created a model which is referred as foundation model. Why it's called as foundation model? Because the idea is you can either use it directly or you can customize it for a specific task. You can see the word adapt, or also called as fine tune, or also called as extend for specific tasks with your own specific data. The foundation of the model is ready. I usually give an example to explain this concept, that this is a school student who has learned everything from physics, chemistry, maths, biology, English, maybe a couple of regional language, then what else is there in school? History, geography, etc. And now this school student goes to an engineering college, specifically a computer science engineering college, or in computer science engineering degree, and will be able to understand computers. Another school student will be going to a mechanical engineering college or degree and will understand more about mechanical engineering. Another student attempts to become an uh, geography expert and study geography in detail, but the foundation is same. So school act as a foundation platform, and then you extend your further learning plan with colleges, and then you further extend it with your master's, which is on a specific topic, and then you go for a job, or maybe you can go for a job even directly from your bachelor's or even without that. Now this process on the left you can see is pre-training. Why it's pre-training? Because it needs to be trained further on custom data. But what is pre-training? Foundation models, which you know what they are trained on massive amount of general domain data, exactly like my school example. So it's not specific for a single domain, it's all the data. From all the data, the model becomes fairly intelligent. So when you go to a GPT's website and you ask it a question and it gives you an answer, it's actually a foundation model which is working because you have not customized it for your tasks. You can. That's a different story altogether. Fine tuning. We will come to that. You can, but that is a default model. What type of model it is? Is it a linear model? Is it a tree-based model? So if you remember earlier, I have told you that there is a new algorithm or a new model called as transformer. It was launched in 2018. It was published in a research paper in 2018. And then onwards, this was the base to launch GPT, to launch BERT. From GPT, we got GPT-2, and then GPT-3, and then GPT-4, nowadays 4.0, and so on. From BERT, we got T5 and many other further advancements. So this is a specific type of algorithm, which can, the keyword, what is unique about transformer, it can pay attention to multiple things at once in different ways. Now, this is a little technical term to understand. We will not go so much in this detail, but this mechanism is called as self-attention mechanism, which is the key mechanism for transformers to work and why transformers are able to do something which other models were not capable of. More than that, there are more advancements like it can be executed parallelly on GPUs. You can retain and use information about meaning and position. So I have a good example to explain it. I have a sentence which is a puppy is to dog as kitten is to dash dash dash. Now, as humans, it's very easy for us to understand what is going to be the answer. But think of it from a machine's perspective. For a machine, all the possible words in English can take this place. Like it can be a puppy is to dog as kitten is to chair. Why it's an invalid answer? Because we know chair is not related to kitten, chair is non-living, kitten is living. We know that this is more like a child to parent type of relation. So there should be cat, but machine doesn't understand all of this. What it will rather do is it will convert every word. Firstly, it will isolate every word. So you see there is every word separately mentioned and convert it into encoded values or numeric values. So there are two processes, tokenization and encoding. And why I'm explaining so much of technology, because this is not a deeper science. This is just a high level overview of how a generative AI model work. As a decision maker, you should not be under an impression that GPT or generative AI model works with a magic. No, it doesn't. It has a fairly scientific mechanism. I'm just giving you an overview of what that mechanism is. So you see that firstly, it tokenizes every word separately. It encodes that word into encoded numbers like these. And then when they are numbers, you can plot them on a graph. And along with your data, it already has so much other data on which it is trained on. For example, your words, the sentences words are puppy, kitten, dog, and rest of the data which is already there includes cat, old, young, etc., etc., etc. Now you can spot a relationship that how puppy and dog are related. And similar way, I have to find a related word for kitten, which is cat. You might say, why not feline? So this is a contextual graph. This is not an actual graph, but an actual graph would establish very clear relation between kitten and cat, which will be similar to the relation between puppy and dog. So then multiple candidate words will be chosen, and the one with the higher score will be going to take the place of this answer. So possible options can be cat, bird, bear, human. Cat is having the highest score and it can take up the place. Again, why it's 9.2, not 9.3? Look at the bottom. It's a contextual example. It is an example. Do not take it as a calculated value. And hence you get the output. So it's a process which includes input, getting tokenized, getting embedded, encoded as well. I missed to write it. Then embedded. This is not true. And then you get the final output. What is context? So context is the background information you are passing to your model to function. It's a temporary information. It has a maximum size, so you can't pass on the whole world's information in that. But something which is important should be passed as context to the model. For example, look at this conversation. I ask a question. I am a human. I ask a question that, hi, what is the best place in Seattle to visit? I get an answer that the Columbia Center offers breathtaking views of the city skyline and so on. So I got an answer that Columbia Center. Now I say, will this be fun for children? If you look at this line individually, the word this has no meaning. But when you connect it with the previous conversation, you have a context that this is referring to Columbia Center. And you get an answer that no, there are much better places for children in Seattle. It also understands that you are talking about Seattle. It also understands that when you are saying fun for children, you are connecting it with the place to visit type of thought process, that tourism thought process. You're not finding a playground for children, you're finding a tourist place for children. Now comes to the technology part is done. I would also like to expose all of you to a topic like planning a project in your organization. As a decision maker, you could be a key resource person in deciding and implementing a generative AI project. What can be a step-by-step journey in doing that? So I have a 4-step process with me that is suggested by AWS. First is you define the scope. Second is you select the model. Third, you adapt the model. And then finally, you use the model. Let's understand each of them in detail. Step number 1, which is defining the scope. What is scope? What do you want to do with this project? Include everything your customer is asking you to include. Your customer can be an external company or internal stakeholders. That's part of scope. But there can be something which your customer is asking. However, it is not supported by the cost of the project. So cost is also an equal or if not more important angle to it. You also have a revenue angle. So should you even do this? If today I can create my own website, which is like LinkedIn, but then what is the point? Can I actually get more people than LinkedIn, or can I get even a significant amount of people to make money out of that, or get any strategic value out of that? So the benefit is the revenue part. If I do have promising revenue from a feature, it is also supported by the cost of the project, and it is also something that my customer is looking for. That becomes scope for me, and I have to consider multiple inputs to decide scope of the project. When you're deciding scope, you have to pay attention to the fact that are you choosing easy wins or you are looking forward for a robust long-term planning? Right? Are you looking forward for quick, easy solutions at low cost, which may not be very impactful in longer term? Or you're looking for a detailed long-term plan and then decide what direction to pursue in? Second step was selecting a model. So you have to figure out that, are you pursuing a process which can be done by a pre-trained model, or you have to fine tune that model? For example, if I am a content creator and I want to create content for social media for my company, I can very well use foundation model. But if I am a heart surgeon and I have to write prescription for my patients, I may not be able to use foundation model because this is a very specific area of operation, and foundation model may not have that much expert knowledge around this area of operation, around this heart surgery and medicine prescription area of operation. Right, so I need to customize it. I need to train it with my own data as well. Make sure it is working fine, evaluate it, because it's a very sensitive business operation. It's a sensitive task to perform. And then I should use the model which is working very well on all of these tangents. Now, once you have a model ready, you can also perform prompt engineering. So what is prompt engineering? I would say art or science or technique to write very effective prompts. It's not that you go to an AI model and you ask a question and you get the answer and you don't need to do anything more than that. You should do much more than that. I would suggest you, if you want to expand more on this learning, this direction, you should study something around zero shot, few shot, and chain of thought prompting style. So all of them are prompting techniques. If you would like to know more about it, please study what type of what is zero shot prompting, what is few shot prompting, what is chain of thought prompting, etc. And then finally, once you have chosen a model, you have adapted that model, you have done effective prompting, you can start using that model. While you are using this model or while you are planning to use this model, you have to ensure that few considerations are well taken. Like, have you managed all of the responsible AI concern? Is your model free of all the bias? Is your model reliable? Is your model um, efficient in terms of privacy management? Is your model effective? Who is accountable for failure of model, etc., etc. Do you have a plan for feedback from users? So if users don't like your product, do you have a plan to take feedback? Once you roll out your model, how are you going to track its performance across all the transactions it is doing? How are you tracking changes to the pre-trained model? Do you have that mechanism with you? So based on changes, you can consider retraining your fine-tuned model. So when you are deploying and using the model, these are few things that you should consider. Once you consider them, and maybe few more things depending on what industry or what organization, what customer base you're working with, then you'll be good to start using the model for effective business operations. Another aspect for decision makers here is that you should also consider positioning your teams for getting good success in generative AI. How would you make your team successful in generative AI? You should collaborate with external experts. You should consider collaborating with consultants who are expert in this domain. You should focus so much on data quality and availability because, as we discussed, your model is as good as the data it is trained on. There's a very simple concept of garbage in, garbage out. If you pass in a garbage data, you will get garbage output from your model. So the quality and availability of your data should be not substandard. You should also pay attention towards investing in cloud infrastructure, because if you consider to fine tune your model, or if you consider to host your model, you will need good amount of infrastructure, and cloud providers can help you very well on that. AWS, being a top cloud provider, provide multiple solutions for generative AI. You should, I don't need to say that you should prioritize security and privacy, because you are dealing with vast amount of data that may include non-confidential as well as confidential information, that may include intellectual properties, that may include trade secrets. If it gets compromised, the company can face a big amount of brand loss, a big amount of monetary loss, a big amount of opportunity cost will be there. If you have a model in function, you should consider evaluating and improving that model continuously. So monitoring is a continuous process for any AI model, but it's more severe for modern day generative AI models. And if you are using or planning to use a generative AI model, you should have sufficient amount of governance mechanisms in place, like transparency and accountability. If the model does something wrong, is it is there a team or a group of people who are accountable for the problem? The model is taking decision based on what? Is that process transparent to consumers and all the stakeholders? Have you followed all the ethical principles like privacy, fairness, non-discrimination, etc.? Are there sufficient guidelines to follow these ethical principles as a continuous process? That governance model should be there. You should enforce and infuse generative AI thinking in your team and stakeholders, like building business cases, educating stakeholders, conducting experiments, developing a strategy around how you can integrate generative AI in day-to-day workspace. There is sufficient need to upskill your organization around generative AI by training them for specific role-based topic or role-based course. You should offer good amount of hands-on experience. There should be sufficient amount of collaboration and knowledge sharing among employees. So a good portal or good set of events or a culture of knowledge sharing can be very helpful. You should consider providing them coaching and mentoring, and if required, incentivizing them for upgrading, incentivizing them for performing actions based on generative AI can also be a big and successful add-on. Okay, I am sharing another screen. All right, so now that we have learned how generative AI can be used for content creation, question answers, content summarization, etc., let's see that in action. The platform that I have open in front of me is ChatGPT. It's a very, very popular and famous platform. The reason I chose it is also same, that even if you want to try out similar things that I did, you can try it out on GPT, which is easily accessible, rather than using an AWS platform, which possibly could be tough to access. So I would try to ask GPT something very, very specific, like if I am learning generative AI model and I am stuck in the word embedding mechanism. I understand it converts text to numbers, but how does it decide what should be the output number? So word embedding is a mechanism. It's a part of the process in generative AI. It's a technical process where text is converted to numbers. But which text should be converted to which number, I am not clear with, let's say. Now, if this is my query, can I also ask this query on a search engine? Like I go to Google and I say word embedding mechanism, what I would see are generic articles. What are word embeddings? Word embeddings in NLP, a complete guide. Word embeddings in NLP, more or less, there's going to be an overlap. So let's say I choose to open a guide and I see there's a big article. There will be information which I need, but there'll be so much of more information. But if I ask this question here, it will not give me a big article where I have to find what I need. I would rather get exact mechanism that how words are converted to numbers, right? So for example, it's explaining me that king and queen appear in similar context. So king and queen will be placed closer in the vector space. Something which doesn't come up very frequently will be placed far away in the vector space. So I'm not saying it will give me another type of information, but it will present the information in a different way. Look at the words like word to vec or bag of words. These are the same things which are also explained in this document as well. So you see bag of words, you see word to vec, but I probably don't want to know what is TF-IDF. I probably don't want to know what is Glove. I probably don't want to know what are challenges with bag of words. I want to understand the mechanism because this article is not created for me. It's a generic long article for a large pool of audience. Google as a search engine is just suggesting me that, hey, you may find your answer in this article, which is not guaranteed. And this article is not for you only. Rather, this answer is specifically created for my question, not for a generic audience. And hence, this answer is very precise, very specific. And not just this, you can expect it to know more about you. For example, this is a new account of mine. It doesn't have so much of conversations. But let's say even now, if I try create an image about me with what you think me and my work looks like. So based on all the past interactions I had with GPT, it's creating, it's giving me some questions to address. If I say create on your own, let's see if it works. And it's attempting to create an image about me, reminding you that I had only 2, 3 conversations, not much, but those 2, 3 conversations probably will give it some idea. I lost that chat. You see, I was referring that you need more compute for generative AI. You can see that it's taking a lot of time, a lot of resources must be consumed in the hindsight to create this image. Parallel to this, I would take you to a demo of Runway Research Labs to show you where we are in the journey of generative AI. Oh no, it's not Runway ML. So it's a creative generative AI company which is providing you solutions to edit your videos with just a prompt. Rather than showing it on their own website, I would take you directly to images or videos. No. Okay. The challenge is that the website is revamped. What I'm looking for used to be there, but it's not there anymore. They have changed so much on this page. So this is what I was trying to explain you. You can generate anyone, anywhere with just a few images. You have a picture of a person, you have a landscape, and you can merge the picture with that landscape. I have never been to Singapore, but if I pass on my pictures and a landscape of Singapore, I'm expecting to receive my picture in that Singapore's landscape, which is way more realistic. Right? So this is the broader idea. We can perform iteration of scene, story, or video. So you see, it's the same video in different format. On one format, these are looking like human. On another format, they're looking like teddy bears. On another format, they're looking like these fungi, and so on. So it's not that different shots or different takes are there, but the same video is edited not in traditional video editing manners, but rather in a AI driven manner like this. The face or a human is being converted to a cartoonish character. You can use it for product animation. So let's see this, or let's see something more interesting like this. So the category is repurposing, and the same footage, the same video is being repurposed into an acrylic style, a black and white style, a grayscale style, and so much more. I'm not a creative person to actually know more about these artistic styles. You also have expressive characters created by AI. You also have product shoots. So look at the prompt. The prompt is image. You're passing this image. Plus, a hand is gently shaking a tropical soda can, the palm tree swaying in the breeze, and it is creating this video. Is it realistic? I would say yes. Can it be better? I would again say yes. But we are just standing in very early days of generative AI based videos. Coming back here, as per GPT, I look like this. I don't look much like this, but you see what it has picked around me. It has expressed me as a trainer. It has, as a trainer, I have my gadgets like mic, laptop, tablet, screens. I have a whiteboard. The content is around effective prompts because I've delivered a generative AI webinar in the recent past as well. For even this webinar, I took some of the slides, some of the content from GPT and other platform. And you see, based on its past understanding, it is kind of articulating me well and using its past data that how a trainer looks like, what devices he or she wears, what type of chair and table a trainer sits in, how a person from Indian ethnicity looks like, that information is also captured. Although I don't look like this, but this person looks like a very suitable Indian character. Because it has information around me being Indian, that information is expressed to create a photos. You see, it has never it never had my picture. Even I don't have it as my profile picture. And this photo is also not anywhere closer to me, but it still generated a face and a body and a well-dressed person delivering a training or some session. So this is a quick demo on how generative AI models can be leveraged. Now that's all from my side in this webinar. Thank you so much for one and all to attend this webinar and being a part of it. I am open for taking up any questions from your side. You can put it on the chat. And once again, thank you. Have a good time.
Thank you so much, Harsh. That was very informative. Now I'd like to give the presentation rights over to Rimi, our vendor manager, to introduce our promotions and webinar-related courses.
Thank you, Tracy. I believe everyone must have learned something new today or would have been able to brush up their skills around the fundamentals of AWS Cloud. I would quickly like to take you through some of our hand-picked resources, which we think will immensely help in accelerating your AWS Cloud scaling journey. Well, this document here of sharing on my screen, this has been shared with you all in the handout section of GoToWebinar panel. You can download this document and access all the resources and browse all the offerings we have curated for you. So first up here is the list of our recommended courses, which we feel will best suit your learning journey after attending our masterclass. All these courses are hyperlinked. Feel free to go through them post-event and check out the course descriptions, prerequisites, and the value it can add to you and your team's skill sets. Additionally, we have curated a blend of resources, including our upcoming and on-demand events, as well as informative and educational blogs. You can make the most of these resources to gain extensive knowledge on the AWS topics they cover. Our free AWS e-learning courses follow a self-paced training model wherein you get the liberty of accessing extensive course-related videos that are delivered by the AWS subject matter experts on the go. So these videos cover the availability on the device of your choice, so you can access them from your laptop, your tablet, or from your phone as well. There are more than 280 videos covering various AWS topics explained in a very easy to comprehend language. You can simply sign up for free, watch these videos, and make the most out of them. Also, here I would like to inform you that this session is being recorded. So, in case you want to refer back to any of the topics that the trainer might have covered in today's session, we will be sharing the recording link with you through emails, and also you can access it here by clicking on this button. So you have to download this handout for that, and then if you want to revisit any topic, you can just simply click on the access recording and you can revisit the session and learn at your own pace. Now, apart from our virtual sessions, you can also catch the relevant updates related to IT and business trainings on our social media handles. So please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the latest updates. Our official pages and channels are linked here on the icons. Finally, if you have any suggestions regarding the topics you would like us to cover in our upcoming webinars and masterclasses, please don't hesitate to send us a direct message, or you can leave a comment on our social media posts, or you can just simply email us at info@netcomlearning.com. We would definitely try to come up with the sessions on your suggested topics. Thank you once again for joining us today. Over to you, Tracy.
Thanks so much for guiding us through that information, Remy. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. How can we use generative AI in education?
How can we use generative AI in education? Right. So there are many use cases. For example, I am an educator and I explained with an example that the PPT that I have showcased you had multiple components of it taken from generative AI platforms. Right. So as a learner, you can also use it to learn. Today, if I am learning a topic and I am facing some difficulty, I explain that difficulty exactly to a model and ask it to suggest me solutions for it, and it works wonderfully. It is way better than searching on a search engine and getting links of generic websites. I can specifically ask my question and get the response. If you are not a learner, but you are running an education business, like a school, college, university, an institution, anything like that, You can use it to do content summarization, evaluating assignments of students, which are subjective assignments, not objective, etc. So there are many, many use cases of generative AI in education.
What are some of the areas we should focus on while implementing Gen AI in our organization?
What are some areas we should focus on? We should focus on making sure that our staff, our team is ready to work on generative AI. There are enough education and learning plans to take care of that need. We should focus on ensuring that we have sufficient resources to handle generative AI workload. I'm referring to compute and storage resources. We should also focus on privacy and ethical considerations as a primary thing when we are working with generative AI. We should also focus on regulatory compliances. If you are working in a regulated industry like bank, insurance, transportation, or maybe child labor, or maybe entertainment, and there are regulations around it, you should definitely consider uh, the regulatory commentaries on around generative AI before implementing them. Today's time, there are many state laws like GDPR being one of them. California State Act is another one. Australia is coming up with their own act for preserving privacy and data security. So we should consider regulations, education, resource consumption, etc., while implementing generative AI in the organization. I hope that helps.
Is Gen AI going to unemploy people?
I would disagree to this. I would say it's going to create a new style of employment rather than unemploying people. There are many people who may lose their jobs because of generative AI, but at the same time, there are going to be many, even much more amount of jobs creations which is going to be there. Just think of Tesla, which is an AI company, not a generative AI company, but an AI company, and see amount of employment it has created. If I talk about generative AI, look at OpenAI, amount of engineers required to create a product like ChatGPT. It's a good amount of employment creation. So yes, if you consider not to upgrade yourself and be insistive that no, I don't want to upgrade myself on AI, I would continue with my traditional knowledge. There can be a risk of unemployment. However, if you would upgrade yourself on the topic, there is a potential benefit in your employment and upliftment journey, I would say.
What are some risks associated with implementing and using an LLM?
There are many risks associated with using and implementing LLM. However, they are controllable. So one big risk can be privacy. Another big risk can be societal concerns like bias, fairness, accountability, etc. Three requirements. So today you invest so much in implementing a generative AI tool, and some other day government or any regulatory compliance body decides to create a regulation which is slightly or largely against it. So that is a big risk because it's a new and settling industry. But I would still discard the regulation risk. I would pay more attention to risks associated with privacy and ethical concerns and governance.
Once again, I want to remind you that as you leave this session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to help us by taking a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience as we are constantly looking at how we can improve our future sessions. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. We want to thank all of you for joining us today, and if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.